Hello, 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 hello. All right. So I have been over here putting together this show so y'all can pretty much um let me know what y'all think. So I did a poll. I asked the question um if y'all felt like I wanted your thoughts. If you felt like Mike Tomlin was shading Shedeur Sanders after the Steelers game. Now, y'all know Mike Tomlin was planning to draft Shedeur, but got talked out of it by the same people that were supposedly anonymous, right? And people above his pay grade. So whether it was somebody within the Steelers organization or whether it was somebody third party, um, Mike Tomlin was planning to draft Shedeur, and his words were, there were these phone calls. We had to listen to these phone calls, and then the other guy was still there. So he told you what was happening, right? Before Shedeur, before the draft, Mike Tomlin had an interview with Shedeur right before that was like the last activity. And I remember everybody wanted to know from Mike Tomlin what the interview was about, and they kept trying to pick at Shedeur. I don't know why they just always are clamoring to know what two black people talk about. I don't understand it. We saw it with Jalen Hurts. The same thing happened with the reporters. They got an attitude because Shedeur wasn't revealing what he and Mike Tomlin had talked about. I think I remember Shedeur saying that Tomlin knew his father, and his father always said great things about Mike Tomlin, but he wasn't really willing to reveal the privacy that they had established, right? And Mike Tomlin talked about the intangibles with Shedeur that are very important, that are good. He had nothing but good things to say about Shedeur. Then draft day happens. Before they get to 21, Mike Tomlin is preparing to draft Shedeur, and then somebody approaches him, and somebody pretty high up, basically telling him he can't do it, or else. And then, like he said, there were these phone calls, and we had to listen to these phone calls, and the other guy was still there. Now remember, Haslam told us there was a phone call and the right people were in the room. So it was a lot of phone calls happening on draft day. One seemingly to get Shedeur to Cleveland, and the other one so he doesn't go to Pittsburgh in the first round, making him an inherent QB1, because the goal, Mike Tomlin was told specifically to draft Shedeur and make him a QB2. So the plan for Shedeur Sanders to be devalued was there all along. To not be a QB1 was there all along, which is why today, reading that Tony Grossi is saying Shedeur hasn't shown enough that he's the guy, that there'll be some kind of competition, is the narrative that we don't want to hear, that this kid is going to have to go out here and compete again, win again, and still get devalued. But that's where it seems like it's going. The only talk of any change coming from Cleveland is Stefanski could be fired. He could be the next Giants head coach. Right before I went live, Antonio Pierce could be the next Giants head coach. And I was mid-sentence typing when I looked down and saw what time it was. I said, the Giants have never had a black starting quarterback. Are they ready for a black head coach when they've never had a black starting quarterback? So I was looking up to see if they've ever had one. I kind of knew they didn't. So, I think the talk of Antonio Pierce going to New York is just that. There's talk of the defensive coordinator from the Broncos. He's a black guy, black gentleman. He's supposedly being interviewed for the Titans job. Now Brian Flores is supposedly, a front runner for the Browns jobs. So all of these black people's names are being tossed up in the air. And honestly, I don't think any of them are possibilities. I don't. Maybe the defensive coordinator in the Titans job, but it just feel like they just giving out bones to people, and so we could say we're including you, but we're really excluding you, right? Again, if I don't want a black quarterback, am I really going to get a black head coach and let him do his job? The answer is no, because in the Browns organization, they already had Hugh Jackson. They had Hugh Jackson, and he said he felt like he was set up, and he said he was incentivized to lose, like Brian Flores. So I think for them, they're just throwing out black people's names, knowing it's not going to happen. Kind of like when Eddie George was interviewed at the last minute for the Chicago Bears head coaching job. Come on now. Not saying he would be a good candidate. They just didn't take it seriously. So they just throwing people's names out there. So Mike Tomlin's name is once again thrown into the fire that if they lose this game with the, I guess, who is it? The Ravens, that he gonna get fired. He say he been on the hot seat for 19 years, so he not worried about it. So I got some video. So let's get to the topic at hand. Let me know in the comments if you believe that Mike Tomlin shaded Shedeur Sanders. I took a poll. Overwhelmingly, I can tell you, people said no. They didn't feel like Mike Tomlin was shading him or being slick or anything like that. They thought it was just a regular interaction. They didn't read anything into it. They didn't take anything away from it other than two people that know each other just embraced on the field, right? Now, I don't know if Shedeur Sanders knew Aaron Rodgers, but I will tell you, and I slowed the video down. See, I don't think it's that Mike Tomlin was being shady. I think he was being strategic. And I think maybe some people thought he was being shady because, hold on one second. Oh, thought he was being shady because after the game, he was asked about Shedeur's evaluation. And he said, he's a Cleveland Brown. I'm going to let his coaches do that. But before the game, he had great things to say about Shedeur. So I think him not wanting to answer the question about Shedeur after the game, I don't think it was shadiness. I think he was being strategic. Just as strategic as Joe Burrow was being when they asked Joe Burrow about Shedeur. And he said, I will say he's what round was he drafted in? He said 5th. He said he's the most put under the microscope 5th round quarterback out there. And Mike Tomlin just deferred to evaluate Shedeur. Now, I don't think he was being shady, but let me tell you what I'm seeing. Canales, the Panthers coach, freely without asking, did what he always does, and he had nice things to say about Shedeur voluntarily. He also had nice things to say about Huntley, but they went on to lose. I noticed that. And I think that's the way it should be. I don't think there's anything wrong with the opposing team coach saying what they thought the quarterback on the other team did well. I would think the same thing is happening if people are talking about Bryce Young. Oh, yeah, Bryce Young did this. He went out there and, he threw these passes and blah, 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 blah. I would think that that's fair game. And I know it is because Canales just did it without restricting himself. But see how Mike Tomlin is restricting himself. Now, before the game, I have a snippet of the things that he said. He had some complimentary things to say about Shedeur and other members of the team. But after the team, he didn't want to offer an evaluation, and I think it's strategic. I think he knows that they want him to say all of these wonderful things about Shedeur, but he didn't draft Shedeur. How you going to ask me to evaluate a player that we just lost to that I didn't draft because y'all didn't want me to? Strategic. I'm going to let his head coach do that. Or I'm going to let the Browns do that, right? That's being strategic. So let's just take a listen at what I put together and we'll go through it. Welcome, everybody. It's Friday night. Now, there's no audio. I want you to see from the very beginning, these guys know when to talk. If they're on the sideline, they cover their mouths, right? Aaron Rodgers embraced Shedeur, but he had a message for Shedeur. Mike Tomlin did the same thing. Pay attention. So you can see Aaron Rodgers' mouth moving, saying some things to Shedeur. And that's when they said whatever they had, they niceties, whatever they had to say. Now Shedeur's on his way to Mike Tomlin. Now this had to be a little different. Why? The last time these two interacted, if it wasn't the last game, it was about Shedeur being drafted and Mike Tomlin with the interview. And, Mike Tomlin had all these nice things to say about Shedeur. Mike Tomlin was going to draft Shedeur. Also, Shedeur and them know more than we do. But it didn't happen. I'm sure Shedeur is wondering what happened there, right? I'm wondering what happened there. I put out the video on X with Shedeur, Sanders, and Peyton Manning on the field throwing the football around and having a conversation. And I asked the question, what the hell happened here? Right? Because in what world is this young man a first-round draft pick and he tumbles to 21 and is about to get his name called, but there's a phone call and we had to listen to the phone call and the other guy was still there? Of course, I'm sure he's wondering what happened. And that situation had nothing to do with Shedeur being entitled. Now, when it comes to the Mannings, it's very situation is just very interesting because Peyton Manning knows this kid, met this kid, knows this kid. Tom Brady knows this kid. Even in the interview, it's on X. I put it on X. In the interview on X, you can see how mild-mannered Shedeur is, how respectable he is, how it was his father invited him out here. He wasn't even saying much. He was letting his father take the lead, right? And he introduced himself. Peyton Manning extended his hand or whatever. Go watch the video. This is a very nice young man, and I don't understand how Peyton Manning could just let that happen in the draft, but they can get Dart drafted, or they can help get Tyler Shaw drafted, or Dylan can go to the Manning Passing Academy and he can go from an undrafted free agent to a third round. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I also don't get how it is that Tom Brady. So Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, Shedeur studied under one and actually knows the other. And they let him be humiliated and devalued and passed over like that. I don't get that. I don't get that. It just says that the league is obviously fake. When your genuine relationships have to come to an end and you have to stand and watch a young man that you know is immensely talented and can elevate this game be humiliated, dehumanized, and devalued. And I asked the question on X, I'm like, what happened? Like, what happened? Like, either Manning never liked these people and plotted against them. And that's the only way you stay silent when something like that is happening. But you can get your guys in. Not one, not two, but three. It don't look good. So let's look at Shedeur walking over to Mike Tomlin. Again, there were these phone calls, and we had to listen to these phone calls, and the other guy was there. So Mike Tomlin had to bow down to whomever. So is the question that Tom Brady had to bow down. Peyton Manning can get in Dart, can get in the Mannings, can get in Dart, can get in Shaw, can get in Dylan, but they had to bow down when it came to Shedeur. Who the hell are they bowing down to? Let's just be honest here. Who are they all bowing down to? Who took it amongst themselves to try to ruin this young man's career? If you didn't want to draft him, you didn't have to invite him to the draft. But what you did do was dehumanize him and treat him like he didn't matter and lured him in so he could be humiliated and exploited and lied on and, yes, devalued. So he's just now seeing these people again, including Mike Tomlin, because I don't know where Shedeur, if he saw Mike Tomlin after the last game. But this one was different. Like Mike Tomlin said, it's different now. We're playing a different Cleveland ball club. There's a different quarterback. So you'll see Mike Tomlin say something quickly to Shedeur. And Shedeur say something and move on. But imagine being a young man and all of these people, Tomlin, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, all of them are the adults in the room. What kind of example are y'all setting for these young men coming to the league? If y'all gonna reel them in and cut them like bait and feed them to piranha. So they're devalued without any explanation because they're Black, while they stand by and watch Dylan Gabriel, Jackson Dart, and Tyler Shaw be elevated unjustly. Didn't prove a damn thing. Dylan didn't prove squat. And Shedeur got told Dylan was better than him every day. You're trying to break a person down if you do that. So what's going on here? So Shedeur is just now seeing these people again. Another person he has to see at some point is Jerry Jones. So as you can see right here, Mike Tomlin quickly says something, and then Shedeur says something back. Like, okay, that's right there where Tomlin is saying something to Shedeur, and it's quick. It's quick. This is why I said he wasn't shady, Shedeur. He wasn't being slick in terms of being rude to Shedeur. He was being strategic. There's no reason for Mike Tomlin to go and evaluate Shedeur, because I can guarantee you he told him what he thought right here. And that stays between Shedeur and Mike Tomlin. What did Shedeur say in one of his press conferences? The teams we play against respect my passing game, my passing ability. They play against Pittsburgh. They ain't played Cincinnati with him as a starter, so process of elimination, we ain't talking about them. Didn't play the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. They played the Baltimore Ravens, but y'all saw how that went. He only played a half a game, but I can't imagine Harbaugh telling him anything. So what's that? The Steelers, the Bengals, and the Ravens. The teams that we play against, and there's some non-conference, non-divisional people, respect his passing ability. So Mike Tomlin couldn't draft Shedeur. But one thing I've never known Mike Tomlin to do is disparage Shedeur or say his skill set was outdated. In my opinion, he was being truthful. There were these phone calls that we had to listen. We had to listen. We didn't have no choice. So the next guy was still there. I felt like he told us what happened. They told him what to do before the draft, and on draft day, they made sure he did what they wanted him to do. And right after that, the Giants traded up to get Jackson Dart. That wasn't a coincidence. It was meant to hurt. It was meant to harm. It was meant to show who has the power without showing the face of who has the power. What does that sound like? The hood game. It was meant to show who has the power without revealing the identity of the people who hold the power. So right here, I felt like Mike Tomlin had some feedback for Shedeur, and he didn't have to share it with the media who don't give a damn about it anyway, other than to weaponize it. So shout out to Mike Tomlin for being strategic. Most strategic people are highly successful. Mike Tomlin has not had a losing season in 18, now 19 years. And they're wanting to say his job is on the line if they go in and lose to the Ravens. His job will only be on the line if they wanted to, because Kevin Stefanski still has a job, and people are saying he's about to get another job. So Kevin Stefanski is about to fail up from a small market like Cleveland to a larger market when he should be banned. So he was being strategic, not shady. So I think the overwhelming majority of people said, how many was it? It said thoughts on Mike Tomlin, Shady Shedeur Sanders after the recent Browns win versus the Steelers. Only 27% said yes and 73% said no, with 32 comments. So when I ask y'all questions, I truly want the answer. And when y'all leave me 32 comments, y'all really be letting me know. Because I said thoughts. I ask questions because I want to know the answer, right? And I'm not going to ask a question and not address the answers that y'all provide. So, hold on one second. I think this is it right here. Here it is right here so y'all can see it. So if you were a part of this poll, here it is right here. If you were a part of this poll, then you know what time it is. You know what time it is. I'm going to make myself smaller so y'all can see it. So it says it right here on the screen. The question was thoughts. It said, did Mike Tomlin shade Shedeur Sanders after the most recent Browns win versus Steelers? 73% said no. And 27% said yes. So let's take it to the comments because I'm curious to see what made people say. I read a lot of the comments. I probably have responded to all of them. I spend a lot of my time responding lately. It says Franklin said he did not, and some other people said no. So that's actually 2 comments, and 32 people hit the like button. Okay, thank y'all for that. So 2 people said no, he did not. He did not. I think I had to erase somebody's comment because they was rude. So I had to erase somebody's comment for being rude. So that's what it is, guys. People said no. And I happen to agree because, as I said, you could see that Mike Tomlin said something to Shedeur, right here. And then you could see Shedeur saying something back. That's why it's slow. So Mike Tomlin is talking. Shedeur is responding. And Mike Tomlin responded, and Shedeur went on. And he felt good about whatever they talked about. Now, I was thinking about this conversation, and, it saddens me that nobody can seemingly help this young man, right? And what do I mean by that? I mean, there's nobody on the internal NFL side that can do what's right. Go to the people who lied on this kid and say you need to apologize and make it right. Go to the owners that took him off the board and say, y'all need to fix this. Y'all need to make it right. Go to all of the anonymous sources, because they're not anonymous. They either still work for the Giants or they've been, some of them, partially fired, including the GM, and go and apologize to this kid for giving out his phone number and having him prank called with proprietary information that was not publicly available, and trying to lie and say it was the Falcons, it was this other family, it was some random kids, when it was none of that. It was a plot intended to humiliate. Why did they feel the need to try to hurt Shedeur so badly? That's one question. Why was it essential to rip him apart as a human being, to treat him like he wasn't human, to dehumanize him, in addition to devalue him and pick his pockets? I'm going to just tell you what it gives me, right? When you think about the nasty way they treated Lamar Jackson, when you think about the nasty way Lamar Jackson was treated in the draft, it was like they wanted to humiliate him too, like he didn't have feelings, like he wasn't human. That's how they treat Shedeur. That's how they treat Lamar. And they let Cam get hit like he's not human. So it somehow seems that if they have darker skin as a Black person, they feel the need to try to scourge them from the goddamn earth. Something about their skin bothers them to that point that they want to physically hurt them. Michael Penix Jr., Lamar Jackson, Cam Ward, and Shedeur Sanders. It's something about their skin that when they see them, they are somehow bothered. And this is what is wrong with Stefanski. That's why he can say, you are not worthy. That's why they can let them get hit like that intentionally without making adjustments and replacing the center, but not replacing the left tackle or the right tackle. How they can take their career and destroy it. If you can hurt a person physically, of course you can destroy their career. It's something about their skin that bothers them, that they are visibly Black. And they need to get over it or get the hell on. We love their skin, but that's what it is. I ask people, what did Cam Ward, Lamar Jackson, and Shedeur Sanders have in common? All three of them play on teams that held them back, sabotaged their game plan, and tried to restrict their athleticism. In particular, the deep ball and their ability to run, their ability to be playmakers, to try to dumb down all three of them into check down kings, to restrict their natural God-given DNA, which sets them apart. That's what they have in common. All three of them. And all three are visibly Black men, not ambiguously. The racial bias has this league in a chokehold, so much so that it's burning itself down in slow motion and running around throwing out black coaches' names with no intent of hiring one of them, and only willing to do it to save yourself from litigation or a settlement, because you ain't even bothered about litigation. A settlement. It's no more that Kevin Stefanski placating and inserting Shedeur's name in every other sentence after all summer, dehumanizing him and trying to prove he's not worthy of being a quarterback. That's what they have in common. So nobody can help Shedeur. Nobody can make adjustments on the O-line or force Stefanski to make adjustments on the O-line to protect the quarterback. We can put a extra running back out here or extra tight end to block for him, but we can get new centers in, but I can't get a right tackle and a left tackle. Cam Ward has been sacked 55 times. They can't do nothing about that. Lamar Jackson had his ankle stepped on by his own lineman, like Shedeur Sanders had his throwing hand stepped on by his own teammate, the tight end, Blake Whiteheart. They protected Blake Whiteheart, but not Shedeur. I've watched the Titans play. They don't protect Cam. Cam got the same problem Shedeur had. And yesterday, Cam's head coach comes out and says, he has the ability to be Superman, but we want him to be more Clark Kent. They want Shedeur to be different, Lamar to be different, Cam to be different. They want them to dumb down their skill set. They want them to deny or restrict or bypass their God-given DNA that sets them apart, that makes them great, that puts them on a path to greatness, because some other people can't keep up. One of the reasons Mike Tomlin said he didn't want to get Shedeur is because he knew they wanted to force him to make Shedeur QB2 behind Aaron Rodgers. Did Shedeur go into Pittsburgh or Pittsburgh come to Cleveland, wherever that game was, and beat Mike Tomlin or Aaron Rodgers? Nobody ever said he beat Aaron Rodgers. They said he beat Mike Tomlin. So Mike Tomlin wasn't shading Shedeur. He was being strategic. He likely gave Shedeur the feedback he needed to hear because Shedeur had a good smile and look on his face. Shedeur responded. Then he moved on. Mike Tomlin actually can't praise Shedeur in public, while Stefanski and the Browns are trying to hold him back for year 2. If it could cost Mike Tomlin his job in the draft, if he had drafted Shedeur, it would cost Mike Tomlin his job if he speaks highly of Shedeur, while the Browns are actively trying to make sure Shedeur is not the guy. Spencer Rattler got the same problem in New Orleans. Why didn't I put his name into the comparison? Because they did the same thing in New Orleans to Spencer Rattler, what they did to Shedeur almost. As far as we know, they weren't over there humiliating him and dehumanizing him and telling him he wasn't worthy. They just let him play the toughest stretch of the schedule and set him up in some games and use that to devalue him. So yeah, they devalue people. Quinn Ewers got devalued. Did he get humiliated? Did he get discriminated against because he was black? Or did he get put in a better position because he went last to Miami? So take this little bit of money right now and we'll give you the Brock Purdy when we get rid of Tua, who they already tried to get rid of before. But nary a word about Shedeur Sanders being the guy. Shedeur Sanders taking over. Shedeur Sanders being franchised in Cleveland. He got to go compete again. It's almost like they want him to quit. So they're going to keep making things difficult for him. And there's nobody internally, not even the NFL Players Association, which is supposed to be about accountability, to put an end to it. I don't even find that peculiar. I find it evil. The path is being once again cleared so they can run it back year one, run back the draft, run back year one, his rookie year, where he said it was extremely difficult. So we're going to do it again in year two. Because, we can't let him think he's him. He knows who he is. He knows who he is. And there's nobody internally to say, look, we're going to get ourselves in a whirlwind of trouble if we keep on trying to hold this young man back and Lamar Jackson back and Cam Ward back. People going to notice. They're going to say something. We can lose credibility. They're already being sued and they don't care. I find that evil. So let me see what y'all are saying. 142 of us on 52 of us on a Friday night. Yay. I got some more on this clip too before I head over to the comments. I forgot. I put a couple of clips together. So I think I did. Yeah. Okay. So I put some more after this. I think I put Mike Tomlin on here so y'all could hear for yourselves what he had to say.
Since the last time we played him. Kevin Stefanski was the play caller. Now Tommy Reese is, and certainly the quarterback has changed. Shedeur is doing a really good job. He's growing and growing with each week from an outsider's perspective. And I think it's always cool when you're growing with company. Certainly see him gravitating towards some young players whose roles are expanding since the last time we played him. Can't say enough about Fanning and what he's doing. I think he's got 70 catches and over 700 yards as a rookie tight end. It's pretty special. Isaiah Bond's role has grown in recent weeks, and you see Shedeur really looking for him down the field, and he's provided some splash for him. Acquisition they got from the Jets, and Malachi Corley wasn't heavily involved the last time we played him. He appears to be increasingly so now.
It's amazing to me how another coach could give this much feedback about the opponent's team, but the head coach of their own team, they can't do this. Or they won't. They refuse to. I have never heard Stefanski talk like this. That's why it's crazy that anybody would consider him for another job. And if so, it's not coaching. There's something else that he provides, and it's not coaching. I don't know what the hell it is, and maybe somebody needs to look into it, but it's not coaching. And those two-time Coach of the Year awards were manufactured by the same people that snatched Lamar Jackson's third MVP. And why did they snatch it? Because Lamar Jackson was going to get to his third MVP faster than Tom Brady got to his 3. Seems petty, don't it? But that's what it's about. Lamar Jackson's athleticism let him get it in 3. It took Tom Brady how many years to get 3? So that's why you see them wanting Cam Ward to be Clark Kent, wanting Shedeur to be check down Charlie Dillon, and Lamar Jackson to be a check down king, to curb their athleticism. So they all need to go play somewhere where their athleticism is appreciated. Because going forward, the reason Mendoza is celebrated and his running backs are shunned is because he is their new prototype. He is a check down king. 3 touchdowns, a 1-yard touchdown, a 23-yard touchdown, a 24-yard touchdown. Longest pass, 24 yards, Dillon. While the running backs gained 215 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Did you hear me say Mendoza had a 1-yard touchdown that obviously should have been to the running back? So the running backs would have had 3 touchdowns and 215 yards. And you could see that they were the stars of the game. But they used that 1-yard touchdown to sell you check down Mendoza with 2,900 yards, including the postseason. Do you know how many yards Shedeur had? Shunning the black quarterback's athleticism. Now, Mike Tomlin can't fight that by himself, can he? And yet there's nobody on the inside, not Tom Brady in Vegas, who mentored Shedeur, not Peyton Manning, who knows Shedeur, to stand up for the Black quarterback so their athleticism could be celebrated and not restricted or denied or devalued in favor of dumbing down the game. The Browns already got called out for trying to turn Shedeur into a check down Charlie. The only reason Mendoza is ahead of Dante Moore is because he's the check down king. It's already said that Dante Moore has the most upside of any quarterback currently in this draft class. Why is he number 2? Because he got a deep ball. Because he's accurate. Because he's amongst the Shedeur, the Lamars, the Cams, hell, the Josh Allens. But they are working to keep Josh Allen into the pocket as well. But they paid him $330 million for his services. They wouldn't even give Lamar a guaranteed contract, and he won 2 MVPs. Nor did any team need an MVP at free agency. And now Shedeur got to go back and compete. And Cam Ward, they want him to be Clark Kent and not Superman. And Mendoza's running backs get ignored. That's it. That's just what it is.
Reverses and so forth, man, really utilizing his skill set and providing some splash for him. Man, it's really unfortunate that their top young runner got hurt.
All right, so that was the last of Mike Tomlin with all of the great things. He acknowledged Malachi Corley, Harold Fannin Jr. He acknowledged, Quinshon Junkins, Shedeur Sanders. Everybody acknowledges the young core, the young rookies on offense or as a whole on defense, right? But not the Browns. The Browns want to pick their people apart. It's Harold Fannin Jr. till they don't want to talk about him no more. Because why? He wanted to go back and play. I guess he didn't take the fake injury. They have an entire rookie class they could celebrate, just like the WNBA. So you already know how this is going to end. When Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark came into the WNBA that year, they had the opportunity to celebrate a stellar rookie class, but they chose to try to take one person and put them above everybody else, even though they didn't earn it and weren't the best. And it's backfiring. Other leagues are coming along and competing. Camila Cardozo went and signed with this new league that everybody gets paid $2.5 million. So in addition to Unrivaled Basketball, that's one league. Now there's a whole nother league. And then somebody's starting another league down in Carolina with 4 teams. So people saw what was happening in the WNBA and say, you know what, we could do this better. When the hell is that going to happen in professional football? And I'm talking about players. Unrivaled is a player league. That's what needs to happen. We can do this better. We can treat all of the players with respect. That's where Unrivaled came in at. And then when it came to the money, even though Unrivaled had a good package, everybody starts at 6 figures and they got equity, somebody else came behind and did better than that. And everybody makes $2 or $2.5 million. Everybody. Why hasn't that happened yet for professional football? The UFL constantly struggles. Is it because they going up against the NFL, who seems to have their claws into things? Or it's just nobody thinks it's possible? Or they haven't figured out how to do it yet? But it's funny. In women's basketball, they just swoop right on in. But it has never happened against the NBA other than the big 3. And y'all know that took some doing. So in women's sports, not saying it's easy. It was easier. And it seems to be easier to get up and get going and nobody out here trying to knock your block off. But in football and in the NBA, they seem to put up a fight. So I'm wondering if the fact that they put up a fight so much that people just don't try it. But you can do it better. It starts with respect. And it might happen out of necessity. So let's see. Stay tuned. So let me see what y'all are saying. It said, hey Nola girl, how you doing? Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Who's that? Anna. Welcome back. Welcome back, Anna. Hey Tina, welcome back. It said good evening, good evening. Hey Sharon. It said, what's up, chat? Hey Ramon, how you doing? It said, go Steelers, beat the Ravens. Okay, so you going for the Steelers, oh man. Okay. The illest show on the planet. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. Hey Robin, how you doing? Happy New Year to you, oh man. Welcome back. Peter, how you doing? Welcome back. Peter, that boy wig. Welcome back. Nice to see you, Julian. Nice to see you. Welcome back. It said the Giants may have had a black head coach in Ray Rhodes. Okay, when was that? I know I was looking it up. Let's see what came up. It says the New York Giants NFL team have never had a black head coach in their entire history. A distinction that remains a point of discussion and criticism, especially given the long history in the NFL's Rooney Rule. I'll let y'all see this so y'all can see for yourself. Because what do they say? It's better if you can see it sometimes. All right, hold on. So no, they never have. And I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? If you've never had a black quarterback to lead your team, it kind of makes sense that you've never had a black head coach. Just like there are 0 black offensive coordinators right now, right? 0 black offensive coordinators. And when you look at how black quarterbacks are being mistreated right now, right? How they're being devalued, their skill sets being restricted, their DNA, being denied, right? It makes sense when you think about the draft and how they shunned Shedeur but propped up Dart and Tyler Shaw, because Shaw and Dart were their preference. It makes sense coming into this draft, not that it's right, but it makes sense that Dante Moore has the most upside, but he's not number 1 off the board. Mendoza is, because he's the prototype of the check down king that they wanted Dylan to be. And you see what happened to that. And some people say Mendoza is just what they call like a eugenics pick at 6'5" because of his height. And I'm like, yeah, because I don't know how you gonna check down every quarterback that is out here. I don't think the fans will go for it. And the fans didn't go for it when they tried to subdue Shedeur. And now they're gonna try to do it with Cam. So as you can see on your screen, it said, no, the New York Giants NFL team have never had a black head coach in their entire history, a distinction that remains a point of discussion and criticism, especially given their long history in the NFL's Rooney Rule aimed at increasing minority hiring. So with somebody mentioning Antonio Pierce, he might be that obligatory candidate. It said, despite interviewing black candidates, including Brian Flores, the team has consistently hired white coaches for the top role, making them one of the few NFL franchises without a black head coach. So there you go. And they even hired Brian Flores and so it just, I asked the question, if you were the last team in the NFL to have a black quarterback, period, and you've never drafted a black quarterback in 120 years in the first round, just like the Browns got the same problem, not 120 years, but in total existence. And I told y'all, all of those raggedy teams run together. The Saints, the Giants, and the Browns, and throw the Titans in there. Hey, everybody, how you doing? It said, no, I don't think he was shading him. Yeah, I don't either. It said, the Rooney Rule states they must interview a minority individual for coaching jobs. Right. And like they said, that boy, they used the Rooney Rule to interview Brian Flores, but they had no intentions on hiring him. In fact, I think Belichick was somehow involved in that. If you look up Brian Flores' lawsuit, there's a screenshot of a text message where they had already decided who they wanted to hire, and he was just the obligatory candidate. And it sounds like Antonio Pierce is the obligatory candidate in New York. Brian Flores might be the obligatory black candidate to satisfy the Rooney Rule in Cleveland. And the black guy, the head coach, defensive coordinator from the Broncos, is the obligatory candidate to interview for the Titans job. What did I say about these franchises? They run together. And look at who the obligatory candidates are and look at what teams we talking about. The Giants, the Browns, the Titans. The Saints, the only one the name didn't come up. Why? Because they just hired Kellen Moore. They just hired Kellen Moore. That's the only reason they're not in this conversation. But they got the same problem. They're not black head coach friendly. They're not black quarterback friendly. The Browns are not black quarterback friendly. You do not pay somebody $230 million and do everything you can to make sure they can't play. And now they definitely don't want Deshaun to play because it would prove Haslam was lying if he gets out here and ball out, just like it proved that they lied about Shedeur, which is why he better be careful this last game. Because they don't want him to come back next year and run it up as the QB1. You think they want Shedeur to come back and start at the beginning of the season and beat everybody? You think they want that? Hell no. They don't want that at all. So how am I going to get away from it? I don't know. I guess we're going to have to see. But he better keep his head on the swivel because Michael Penix Jr. is out till next year. ACL injuries are 9 to 12 months, December to December. It said, no, I don't think Mike Tomlin shaded Shedeur. Yep, I don't either. I think he was being strategic. It said, hope everyone in the chat had their black eyed peas and cabbage. Let's start 2026 off right. Do y'all like black eyed peas? I said I was going to ask a poll. I'm going to run a poll and just tell me there. But you can tell me in the chat if y'all like black eyed peas. 170 of us, hit the like button, please. On a Friday night, it said, I think it's all BS. Hey, Queen T, because they know they are in trouble with Brian Flores. Facts, in my opinion. And Roger Goodell needs to be fired because his ears must be close when it comes to Shedeur. It said, closed when it comes to Shedeur. Where is the EEOC for the players? That's supposed to be. I totally agree with that. That's supposed to be what? The NFL Players Association duty? The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission? Isn't that what it's called? EEOC? There's nobody internally. There's nobody for the players. They have absolute zero recourse. Zero. And nobody on the outside is even talking about it. Outside of me and a few other folks, there's zero accountability. It's just open season on black quarterbacks. It's just open season to dumb down their skill set, to draft and destroy so you don't go somewhere else, so you don't go to the UFL and blow it up and they start looking at that, so you don't go to Canada, so you don't get the bright idea to team up with your people and start your own. That's why I'm glad a lot of those players are going back to school. I don't know what Dante Moore going to do, but, you know, I'm pretty sure these last playoff games probably about to be rigged. People said that the referees tried everything possible for Georgia to win that game at the end. If you saw the last play with them throwing the ball all over the place, I was like, what is going on here? And then they thought the game was over and had to go back and start over at the end. I was like, okay. People said they were trying to hold out as long as possible before declaring Ole Miss the winner. They going to cheat Trinidad Chambliss in this next game versus Ohio, but they don't want Carson back either. So somebody got to win, and I'm going to cheat you at the next. That's the same thing with the Steelers and the Ravens. Somebody got to win this game. And if Tomlin lose and Lamar win, he going to get stopped at the next one. I'm just saying. Ain't no fair playing happening right now. It's no fair football being played. It said, I don't think he shaded Shedeur. Actually, I think he's proud of him. Facts. I think so too. It said, Coach Mike T just being strategic. I agree, Ramon. I agree. It said, just black eyed peas and greens. Okay, so y'all do like black eyed peas. It took me a long time to like them. I didn't like them at first. I didn't like them at first. Mike Tomlin is trying to save his job. He got to. I mean, hell, if he gone, who gonna be over there? Todd Bowles. They trying to get rid of him too. The Panthers play the Buccaneers tomorrow, 4:30. Hopefully the Panthers let Jimmy Horn Jr. ball out. That's all I can say. It said Mike Tomlin was just being himself, shutting down the media's silly question. Okay, I'll take that, Coach. Welcome back, Coach. Happy New Year to you. It said you can hear what they said on Well Off Media. Okay, yeah, I turned the sound down. But thank you for that. And it said Brady is more suspect than Tomlin. Hell yeah, Brady is suspect. Brady and the Manning kid, Peyton Manning. I'm like, how do you do that? How was that even possible? I mean, I really do have the question on how is that even possible, right? Let me see if I can show y'all. So they basically running Antonio Pierce ragged with the wrong rule. They ain't gonna hire him. I wonder if they interviewed him last year. Did he get interviewed last year or was he fired last year? It said the Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski and the Raiders head coach Pete Carroll are most likely to be fired next. It said if Kevin Stefanski is fired, Nick Sirianni, Philadelphia's coach, will personally drive to Cleveland to pick him up and bring him back to Philadelphia to be his offensive coordinator. Oh Lord Jesus, where Jalen Hurts is, that's the travesty. That's the travesty. So you see how they cutting for Stefanski? That's what I mean by the league is in a tug of war, right? You got people just fans want to see football, but you have all of this racial politics happening. There's no way Stefanski should have anybody's job. It's not. It shouldn't even come as a surprise that he's getting fired. Pete Carroll either. There's no way they thought that he would be a head coach for like 5 years. He was 75 when they hired him, and it's not about ageism. This is about really, come on, guys. And when it started going south, why were they blaming Geno Smith and not Pete Carroll? But now Pete Carroll will be fired. Well, luckily, Geno Smith has a $66 million guarantee. So if they want to push him out, they're going to have to pay him first. So that's one thing I can say about these guarantees, which is why these players should fight for their guarantees. So yeah, everybody's stuck on talking about Trinidad Chambliss. I want y'all to pay attention to the NCAA's ruling that they delayed on Christmas Eve, whereby Trinidad Chambliss requested another years of college, a waiver to go back to school for one more year. They should have already ruled on it, but they delayed it before. They delayed it on Christmas Eve. The portal opened today and closes on the 16th. So the question is, why haven't you either granted it? Because you can't deny it. When we were with members, what did I say? I said, you can't deny his because the NCAA approved a player that was drafted to the NBA. They let him return to college after he was drafted into the NBA. Perry must have played or something, but he could go back to school. And then Diego Pavia requested his waiver extension and he got it. And he requested a 7-year. Trinidad Chambliss requested a 6th year. He was in school in COVID during 2022. And they playing around with his extension by delaying it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Again, trying to either force him to come out now or force on where he's going to end up playing football if he stays. Because his head coach, Lane Kiffin, went to LSU, and it's rumored that he could go hop in a transfer portal to LSU, but the NCAA is holding up that process. Lane Kiffin should have stayed where the hell he was till the season was over with, and then he could have went to LSU. I don't know why it was so important to leave. You could have stayed. Anyway, that's that situation. So there's a lot happening here, but no shade from Mike Tomlin. No shade. It said, do the math. How many head coaches did the Steelers have in the history of the organization? Yeah, I couldn't even tell you that. Steelers fans, let us know. It said, I get it. These people will look out for their own. Yeah. It said, jealousy is a dangerous thing. Yup, that boy wig. It said, they're willing to do what it takes to tear down a family when they've done nothing to anyone. Right, because why am I tearing down the Sanders family? Because I don't want their legacy to be larger than life. It already is in every other aspect. Look at what happened when Coach Prime became a head coach at Colorado. Look at what happened when he was at Jackson State. Look at, Shiloh's social media. Look at Shedeur's. influence and all of the endorsements he has. And they don't want that to be the narrative that people talk about. They don't want that to be their culture. So they want it to be the Mannings. And that's why I said, what the hell happened here? You know, I watched that video that I posted with Coach Prime, you know, interacting with Peyton Manning. And he said, yeah, I have my son with me. And Peyton was like, oh, you have your son. And Shedeur came over and, you know, real nice mannered young man. And Coach Prime wasn't doing anything. You know, they can't say he was doing this or he was doing that. There's no justification for what happened to Shedeur. And there's zero justification for the lack of accountability. There's justification that nobody has held anybody accountable. They said Shedeur had poor character. He was arrogant. He had a bad attitude. He was self-absorbed. He was unprofessional. You could see in that video when he was a kid with Peyton Manning, you could see that that's not true. You could see how well-mannered he was when he walked up. Let me see. I think I can show you just a little bit of it. Let me show y'all Shedeur's demeanor and Peyton Manning. It's what I've been saying. They know these people. And it's just crazy to me that between Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, they could let this happen to Shedeur or be a part of it or take part in what happened to Shedeur in the draft. I don't have no problem saying that because they got their guys in. They got their guys into the Saints. They got their guys into where? The Giants. And they're trying to get their, is it nephew, to the same team that Shedeur was on. You think that's a coincidence? That's not a coincidence. It's called self-preservation. And to me, that's what Tom Brady did, Peyton Manning did, and the rest of the Mannings. They all did it. Self-preservation. But they didn't consider Trinidad Chambliss. Hey, if you go watch him play ball, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. That's another Shedeur. That is another Shedeur. And that's why the NCAA has decided to delay the ruling on whether or not he could go back to school, and the portal has already opened. Pay attention. Pay attention. All right, so I'm going to play just a clip of it. I just want y'all to see Shedeur's demeanor. I'm not going to, I guess I'll play a little bit of the sound. It's BK.
All right, let's throw it around a little bit.
I got my son.
You got somebody?
Yeah, he has about 13, 14 offers.
13 years old.
Thanks for helping us out.
Thank you. You know he beat your dad deep, son. You did? Just six.
You see, but
He beat me
you
for
said
six.
that. I don't really say it.
He got me on the Peyton Manning. They
the
were
thing-
running it down our throats. And I said, you know what? Let me go up here and get this run before we get started. And I saw the naked hand. We always say, when you see the naked.
So you see how Shedeur is just standing right there, listening to his father intently talk, listening to Peyton Manning, just being a good 13-year-old. He's tall as hell at 13 or 14 years old. This is not an arrogant kid. He don't even have one in his body. I mean, we all can be, if that's what we want to be, if we feeling happy, if we feeling proud after people been kicking on us. But is that who he is 365? No. He's confident. And right here, he's just a young man listening to the lessons that his father and Peyton Manning are teaching. And Peyton Manning couldn't do nothing. Tom Brady couldn't do nothing. Self-preservation. Because if I do something about Shedeur, I should have did something about Lamar. And remember, Lamar getting 3 MVPs sooner than Tom Brady. Well, that's just self-preservation. If I don't say nothing about that. And if I don't say nothing about Shedeur, then maybe my nephew has a place to go in Cleveland. Because if Shedeur would have went to Cleveland like he was supposed to at number 2, their nephew would have to go to a different team. And I don't see nothing wrong with that. But there's more to it than that. They would have to be able to be on Shedeur's level or better. And they ain't got to worry about Shedeur no more. Because his name is Trinidad Chambliss. And everybody now knows it today. Everybody. Now, he started out at D2. And they couldn't hold him down. So they need to get off Shedeur back. Because they thought they solved their problem. But then there's Trinidad Chambliss. I'm just saying. And he went to Ole Miss. So that's one of their bread and butter schools right there. They actually acted like they don't see Ole Miss in the playoffs, saying the SEC isn't what it used to be. I'm like, how y'all not celebrating Ole Miss? Oh, wait, let me guess. The quarterback is black. See, that's why I started following Trinidad and Austin, because the whole Jackson Dart scenario, right? I said I wanted to, when I found out Ole Miss had 2 black quarterbacks, I was like, what? 2? I was like, whoa, that's different, right? Because they elevated Dart in front of Milroe, using a campaign to tear down Milroe like they used a campaign to tear down Shedeur. So when I heard they had 2 black quarterbacks and Trinidad was starting, I guess because Austin got injured. Austin is a prodigy. He finished high school 2 years early and already has his bachelor's. And I don't even think he's 20. I said, I want to see how this going to go. I want to see if the Ole Miss connection at the quarterback works for Trinidad. And look at what's happening with his waiver to go back to school for 1 year. What are the implications of him going back to school next year? Somebody else at UT going to be competing against Trinidad, Lenore Sellis, Darian Mintz, Diego Pavia, DJ Lagaway, possibly Robbie Ashford. The kid over in Arkansas, Nico Liavayama. That 2027 class is stacked. It's 2026 a bust, baby. So pay attention to what happens with Trinidad. The NCAA delayed his waiver to go back to school, but they already approved Diego Pavias for a 7th year. And an NBA player can go back to college and get NIL money. Pay attention. The draft just might have came early. So that is something you have got to pay attention to, because, see, again, it's not 20 million people to look at that situation. So I'm telling you, pay attention. It said Manning is whatever. It said pull his and down in front of a trainer at TU. What? Say what? Oh, at Tennessee? Uh-oh. It said, I've seen both of these videos with the audio, and he was telling him to keep his head up and that he see him. Yay. Okay, good. I knew he said something. It said, I'm not surprised by anything at all. And nobody else should be. And I think that's why the players are going back to school, because they have learned the lesson. It said, I'm not surprised. It said, I wonder if Shedeur is going to work out with Tom Brady in the offseason. Yeah, I doubt it, coach. He might, but I doubt it. First of all, when Shedeur went to Vegas for the game, Tom Brady was MIA. People said he was in another city calling the game. I'm like, I'm sure he could have sent a text, right? Like I said, this young man going to have to run into a lot of people that did him dirty, including Jerry Jones. It's that Brady showed up in the well-off video acting like he was advising Shedeur. When was this? It said all along he was getting exposure from Shedeur's popularity. When you talking about? What video was that? I am waiting for the Jerry Jones meetup. I know that's right. I'm waiting on that Jerry Jones meetup too. I felt like Michael Irvin went with Coach Prime to the Big 12 Pro Day because it was at the Star. That's what I think. And I don't think these people have yet to run cross paths. And Tom Brady ducked out when Shedeur played Vegas. Somebody said Shedeur ought to be, you know how we talk about Shedeur should celebrate each moment? They said Shedeur went into Vegas, a team that was supposed to draft him, where his mentor works. And he was wearing his daddy's shoes when it happened. I'm like, well, damn, that's what I'm talking about. You celebrate everything. If they don't plan on letting you win, you're crazy if you sit around and wait to celebrate until you win. If you think that the only time you should celebrate in this league as a black quarterback is when you win, and you actively see them holding back yourself in other black quarterbacks, you're going to hurt yourself. You better celebrate everything, including going into Vegas and winning with your dad's shoes on. Because he could be like everybody else and just wear a different shoe. He said, no, my dad has his own shoes. I'm not wearing nothing else. That's what you're supposed to do. He told him to stay up. It said Shedeur will prevail. 20 million followers and counting are supporting him. I agree. I agree. And that's what they can't shake. That's what they can't shake. It said race trumps override. Oh, it said override all logical, critical thinking decisions. Manning and Brady just stayed on code with the NFL plan. Right. And what that tells me is they some snakes. See, people just want to call out Brady. You need to call out the Mannings too. In particular, the one in that video, because that's crazy. That's insane. That's why I said, how on earth does this happen? Self-preservation. Because of their DNA and their athleticism. They want the athleticism for the running backs. They want it for the wide receivers, for the cornerbacks, but not for the quarterbacks. Because that's how black quarterbacks' numbers began to grow so rapidly around the time of Donovan McNabb and Michael Vick. And after that, everybody wanted it. And now, wait. They about to be the majority of the starters. Okay, no, that's enough. That's enough. Cam, it got to be the last one. No, we can't get Shedeur. By any necessary, 17 was not happening before that draft. It is amazing to me that there were phone calls that Mike Tomlin had to listen to so he could not draft Shedeur. And then there was a phone call and everybody was in the room for the Cleveland bunch. And they had to draft Shedeur. It's a lot of phone calls. A lot of phone calls. And all of the people that knew the Sanders and knew Shedeur and said nothing and did nothing. It don't even matter what you say. It's what you do. They some snakes, bro. They are some snakes. So no, I don't think Mike Tomlin shaded Shedeur, but I do think Tom Brady and Peyton Manning chose to be like snakes during the draft process and follow self-preservation of whiteness at the quarterback rather than stand up for a young man who they know personally. No excuses. No excuses. One thing about karma, it always know your address and it has no expiration date. You think people talking about Tom Brady, you know that video I shared that's on X and I just showed you a little snippet of it? They know that video is out there. Did they talk about, damn, Peyton Manning no Shedeur and he didn't say nothing? But they want to flip forward because Cam Ward reached out to Peyton Manning and it was like, oh yeah, unsolicited. Okay, what about Peyton Manning knowing Shedeur already at the age of 13 and 14? What, you didn't know who he was when he was coming out in the draft? Of course you did. You standing there with his daddy. That's what makes it so devilish. So intentional on why they were silent. There was no mistaken identity here. Shedeur wasn't in that video at Peyton Manning camp and he forgot about him. You saw what happened to Coach Prime in the draft as well. Coach Prime and Shedeur. And they don't talk about that video. They don't talk about Peyton Manning knowing Shedeur. They don't talk about that. But they talk about Tom Brady. They talk about Cam and Peyton Manning, but they don't talk about Shedeur and Peyton Manning. I wonder why. I wonder why. You would think Peyton Manning would reach out to Shedeur during the draft. Man, you okay? How you doing? You good? Did that happen? Karma has no expiration date. There are no excuses. There are no excuses. Same thing they did to Shedeur, it's going to be done to them. It said, I don't know if 12 was snubbed, but I made a mental note of the look on his face afterwards, and it didn't look like to me that he was happy. He didn't look upset. I didn't think he looked upset. I didn't think he looked upset, but okay, I can see that. It said, might say pay attention. It said on another podcast, Sanders told him, you should have drafted me. Oh, but is that AI though? Because some of these AI, somebody sent me a DM on IG and they said, I want you to look at this, but I'm not sure if it's AI. And I was like, it's AI. And they was like, thank you. Because everybody don't know, right? If you're not in this space a lot, you don't know sometimes, right? If you a person that you watch this show, you watch that show, you're not on YouTube a lot, you ain't on social media all day. I'm on social media damn near all day. Honestly, damn near all day. Just all over the place. But that's just the truth, right? And I have to, and I'm easy to put the phone down. I'm like, I'm gonna do something else. But it's just one of those things where you don't know if it's AI or not. There's a lot of deep fakes out there. And that whole Sora thing, oh, that was just insane, right? The Sora AI, a lot of people felt like what they were watching from Sora was true. They just didn't know. So I understand, right? It said they are trying to get rid of Mike Tomlin. Yes, it said there is no way he should be in a conversation about being fired like Stefanski. Right, and they're not just trying to get rid of. There's two coaches they trying to get rid of, and you should know exactly who it is. Mike Tomlin is one. Who's the other one? Look at what's happening with the team. It's not D'Amico Ryans, surprisingly, but it's not. There's only 4 black head coaches. Everybody else name they throwing out, they have to interview because of the Rooney Rule. They already said, should Aaron Glenn be fired? And I was like, get the hell out of here. There's 2 coaches right now that I feel like they trying to find some kind of way and support to fire them. Todd Bowles in Tampa and Mike Tomlin. Tell me you don't see it. It's out there. Pay attention. It's going to be tough to fire Mike Tomlin because he's had 19 seasons. He never had a losing season. And they know they always send him problematic players like Pickens and some of the other guys that they had. See, that's how they do him dirty. They give him players that can't settle down so he could get going. And when he got to this point last year, Russell Wilson was the quarterback and Pickens was the wide receiver. And he in Dallas, and now they ready for him to go. It said, they said he crossed the line by telling Tom's business on Front Street. Huh? Who you talking about, Paula? Who we talking about? Who we talking about? I don't know. Maybe it's a different conversation here. Yeah, Tomlin is not a failure like Kevin. I don't know what they're talking about. I totally agree because that's kind of weird. Yeah, some of these videos are AI. And y'all just going to have to get astute at learning what's AI and what's not. And there's a lot of ways that you can tell. But I actually watched the Dallas Cowboy podcast with a black guy. And I was midway through the thing. I said, hold up, this AI. Because his motions were repetitive. And I was like, oh, this just on the loop. Okay. So they just had him in the chair and you thought he was talking. And it was like, wait a minute, this is the same thing over and over and over. And they just put the track over it and his mouth was moving to it. So I thought it was real. It was not. It was not. It was not real. So you just got to learn it. Some of the stuff that's happening don't even make sense anyway. It said Joe Gilliam, Cordell Stewart, Dennis Dixon, and Michael Vick, and Justin. What happened to Cordell Stewart after he played for what? Pittsburgh? He played for Pittsburgh, didn't he? What was his career like? Eric Dickerson told us what was going on. Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. Eric Dickerson told you that they said they were trying to teach him a lesson. That was a flat out ass lie. They was not trying to teach Shedeur no lesson. They were being racist. Remember, Eric Dickerson also told you about race norming. Okay, if they race norming, saying you're dumber than white players, do you really think they was trying to teach Shedeur a lesson if they think he's dumber than white quarterbacks? Race norming. racism. I don't know how people keep missing it. Most people keep missing it because they don't even know about the $1 billion lawsuit. They don't even know about that. And that's intentional. Because if you knew about it, it would be a PR nightmare. That's why you don't know about it. But the fact that he talked about the race norming after he talked about trying to teach him a lesson, I don't know how he himself couldn't connect the two. I don't know why he didn't connect the two. Because it's like you wanted to tell us, or did you want to cover for them and seem like you're telling us? Because they didn't want to teach Shedeur a damn thing. Because I want to see what they're going to teach Dante Moore. I want to see what they're going to teach Trinidad. I want to see what they're going to teach DJ Lagaway. Not a damn thing. Nothing. They did that for nothing. They did what they did to Shedeur, is that was the last draft, period. We're not drafting no more black people in the first round, period. That's how they acted. Like they were shutting it all down. And there was no way to get caught. There was no way this could blow up in our face. This will solve everything. It solved nothing. It solved absolutely nothing. All you did was expose yourself. And now you got to go and do it with the coaches. So you're throwing out all of these black people as if people can't see. The only reason it's not a PR nightmare is because it's contained on X. And I told y'all what kind of platform X is. A lot of people don't spend their time in the football space, the NFL space. A lot of black people don't spend a lot of time in the NFL space on X. They talk about all kind of other stuff, music, rap music, comedy, but it's like having different rooms. And a lot of black people don't spend a lot of time on X in those rooms where it's the NFL. They don't. And that is why when you have Bucky coming in and he has press passes, or you have myself on social media that has the time, and you have others, they get a little, oh, okay, we starting to see a black wave. Yeah, you are. Because while you're trying to push out black head coaches after you successfully pushed out black offensive coordinators, and you playing in these black coaches' face because of the Rooney Rule, and you want to play in Shedeur Sanders' face and Cam Ward face and Lamar Jackson face. No. You thought you succeeded when you got rid of every black offensive coordinator. And now you have whittled it down to only 4 black head coaches. And you're trying to get rid of Todd Bowles and possibly Mike Tomlin. Or you don't want Mike Tomlin to be comfortable. Just like you don't want Shedeur to be comfortable. But ain't neither one of them probably going nowhere. Where am I going to let Mike Tomlin go? Is he going to go to another team? Is there a moratorium on him being hired somewhere? Not to my knowledge. How does it look that we fire Mike Tomlin when we already have successful NFL head coaches with active class action lawsuits in federal court? I would be stupid to fire Mike Tomlin right now. I would be dumb to waive Shedeur Sanders and kick him out the league like I did Shiloh. For one, we're going to have to get him back, and he's going to end up with a new contract. Facts. Facts. Because they already know. If we let Shedeur go, we're going to have to get him back, and we're going to have to give him a new contract. Facts. So let's just let him stay over there. Just don't let him be comfortable. Mike Tomlin, don't let him be comfortable. Because they don't want these guys to feel like they have a stake in the game or that they belong. You only work here. When the sun goes down, it's time for you to go. We don't want you to be comfortable. We always want you to watch for sunset. Mike Tomlin, Shedeur Sanders. That's what that is. That's what that is. They always want them to be weary of what time it is and how they don't belong, and they only work there. Somebody said, I am dark skinned. I have experienced this sort of hate all my life. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But yep. Somebody else was talking about that. Oh, you know who was talking about that? Coco Jones, the fiance of Donovan Mitchell, the R&B singer. She was talking about that recently. She said she dealt with, what she called it? I forgot how she called it. Maybe she called it colorism. She might have called it colorism. She said she dealt with it her whole life. And you know, how she, and it's painful, right? It's painful. And well, she said colorism, but I think she was really saying racism because she was describing the people she was around. I think she said they were white. And she was like, she wasn't any different for them. But then again, if she said colorism, she was saying she was around other people, I guess, who were lighter than her. So she was like, I'm not any different than you, but why was she treated differently? Right? But she spoke to it, whether it was racism or colorism, she spoke to it. And I don't know if non-black people are familiar with colorism like that. They think that we're the only people who can be colorist against each other. No, it don't work like that. Racism does the same thing with color, with skin tones. The darker you are, the less accepted you are at times. And they make their lives harder and they treat them horribly. And what I'm seeing happening to Lamar and Shedeur and Cam Ward is because they're browner skinned. So is Geno Smith, the second most sacked player. That's what I see. Because I know they don't like Jalen Hurts, but they don't treat him like they don't like him. We could just tell, right? They don't try to physically hurt him. They don't put out these nasty campaigns about him, but they did. But they have since then moved on. They just don't want him to go back to the Super Bowl. Caleb Williams, they don't like him. You know this because they hired his backup, went to a D3 school and was paid $10 million to back up Caleb so Caleb don't get comfortable, so he can look for the sunset. That's how he gets told he's not worthy, or we don't want you, we don't value you. Shedeur gets his hand stepped on. Lamar gets stepped on. They all get stepped on and harmed by their own team. Now, I don't know how Michael Penix Jr. got his ACL tear, but I'm not dumb. I know what was going on in Atlanta, and they wanted to move him out the way. So they did. Lenore Sellers, concussion, that was not an accident. He's also brown skin. What did I ask y'all when we were talking about Jordan Love? I said, is his mama white? Because remember how they were talking about him? And y'all said, yep. I was like, see? Because he wear his hair just like Shedeur. But it irks the hell out of them that Shedeur has stitch braids, but they don't say nothing about Jordan Love. Color. The more melanin you have, the worse they make it for you. They treat you like you're not human. I don't like that. None of us should like that. And I can't wait till we get to the point, because we talked about this podcast being ahead, that others see that that's what it is. See, they know what's happening to Lamar. They just ain't made the connection to Shedeur and Cam. Wait till they make that connection, and then they realize, wait, they all darker skinned. This don't happen to Jalen Hurts. This don't happen to Caleb Williams. This don't happen to Jordan Love. This don't happen to Bryce Young. This don't happen to Justin Fields. But it happens to Geno Smith. Just wait. Just wait. Pay attention to who the quarterbacks are at Oregon going forward. One of the reasons Alabama lost, people don't want to believe it, is karma. You want to know why? Because they bench their beautifully melanated 5-star quarterback because he threw an interception in practice. Keelan Russell. And they put him behind a backup. Instead of nurturing his talent and helping him to develop, they were shunning him. So guess who got shunned? They deserve to be right where they are. Trash. Because karma has no expiration date. It said, I know that's the stretch. It said they just making up stuff now. It said Shedeur also has a signed Tom Brady jersey in his office. Yeah. Who? Shedeur? It says, I don't get it myself. Yeah. I mean, you just gotta figure out these it's a lot of AI channels out here. Not just on this topic, but it's a lot on this topic. They do that so they won't make the others look more mediocre than they already are. Right. And that's what I'm saying. You're denying their athleticism because you feel like black quarterbacks, but black starting quarterbacks are outpacing white starting quarterbacks. And you feel like it's the athleticism that's the difference. So you want to revert quarterbacks to check down Charlies and squelch the excitement, smother the excitement out of the game. And that's why you got Dillon. And now you're going after Mendoza. And if you go to Oregon and you black, that's what they're going to do to you as the quarterback. Because Dante Moore only has flat 3,000 yards. I'm like, why he only got 3,000 yards? I have watched him. But I've also watched how excited fans were about Malik Willis coming out and throwing bombs down the field. And oh my God, he should be a QB1. I want to see him on somebody else's team. Is he going to Pittsburgh? Is he going here? Is he going there? I'm like, there's a reason why he behind Jordan Love. And that's it. They knew he was QB1 in Tennessee, but they didn't care. They had an affinity for Will Levis, and they had that same affinity for Will Levis when Cam came. So they're going to try to move off of Cam too? I mean, you starting out the season as the same way you're closing it, wishing he was something else. As if you're not happy with what you have because you don't want to develop his talent. I'm sorry, you don't want to unleash his talent. Because truth be told, I think he'd go out there on week 1 and ball the hell out if they wanted to build the offense around him, if they built the game plan around him. No, they don't want to do that. Kevin Stefanski was guilty of the same thing. So much so that Tommy Rees said, it's not about wins and losses or the results. Yes, the hell it is. Something's got to give. Fans got to stop showing up and paying for tickets for games that don't matter. Because the tickets should be free if it's not about wins and losses. And if that's not going to be the fix, something has to give where it comes to black quarterbacks, because it's not right to continue to devalue black quarterbacks in a new way. Can't switch them off to wide receiver no more. Can't run them stupid tests to try to prove that they don't have the cognitive ability. Can't race norm out in the open. Can't do to everybody what you did to Shedeur because Coach Prime only has one kid left in the league. So you're going to go with the next tactic. Check down Charlie. We're going to take y'all as you are. Like we did Vince Young. We're going to take that athleticism and we're going to suffocate it and turn you into a check down Charlie. So the others can reach where your level is. Because there's too many of y'all. That's all it is. Something has to give. Alabama already got theirs. When Cleveland go get theirs? Maybe when Shedeur gone. Did you see Joe Burrow's demeanor during the presser? Like, I can't believe this guy survived all the injustice. It said only Shedeur knows what really happened, and I don't think he'll ever talk about it. Now, he's not going to talk about it, but they always want to know. They always want to know. Talking about Joe Burrow looked like he was sick and damn tired. Yeah, he did look like he was sick and tired. He was like, what the hell y'all asking me this? I think Burrow was bothered by the stupid line of questioning. I agree. It's that Burrow has had that look since he came back from injury. I think he was annoyed personally. I agree with Amber. I think he was like, okay, really? Okay. Because they claim what comes with Shedeur. And nothing came with Shedeur. It's what y'all added to the pie. It wasn't nothing with Shedeur. We just wanted to see him ball out, but y'all try to deny us that opportunity and get him injured in the process so he can't come back and run it up for week 1 all the way. So now you want to talk about, he ain't proved enough. But yet it is. Tyler Shaw has proved everything through the easiest stretch of games. through the easiest stretch of games. He has proven everything through the easiest stretch of games in uncontested passes. I swear it's like looking at practice footage. Ole Miss versus Georgia was way more exciting than any game that Tyler Shaw played. In fact, Mendoza is who they want Tyler Shaw to be. Facts. So Mendoza can come on in and just start then, huh? He don't even have to go to the Manning Passing Academy, do he? Let's see what happened with that. It said Burrow has had that look since he came back from injury. It says, I think Joe wants out of there. He might. He might. It said, if Stefanski is not giving Shedeur kudos, then why would Coach Mike T? It said because he knows Shedeur is him. Right. I think he did privately, right? Mike Tomlin knows how wicked they are. He does. What did Mike Tomlin say? They've been wanting me to be on the hot seat for 19 years. I don't even worry about that. It said, Joel is on the NFL Players Association. That should tell you how effective they are for standing up for players. Oh, wow. That says a lot. That says a lot. Is it true that he may be going to Vegas? I have been seeing it all over YouTube. It could happen. Why? Because I think the first pick belongs to Vegas unless something happens with the Chiefs game. But right now they have the number one pick, I think. And I did read where somebody in Vegas, I don't know who it was, said that I think Pete Carroll is out. And they said Mendoza would fit in nicely with Brock Bowers, and Ashton Jeanty. I said, oh, yeah, he would. Ashton Jeanty would have himself probably an award next year because if you watched the game with Indiana, the running backs did 215 yards on the ground. They did the work. They did the work. I mean, they just going to come in and prop them up the same way, but Ashton Jeanty is really, really good, right? So as a check down king, he could go to Vegas. Now, sometimes I feel like Shedeur going to be traded because I do remember what Andrew Berry said. Shedeur will outproduce his draft stock, and he did. And I'm shocked that they let him finish this last game because, remember, they activated Bailey Zapp, and Bailey Zapp closed out the last game in 2024. So I want Shedeur to keep his damn head on the swivel behind this game, right? Because, you know, they fought him tooth and nail to not be QB1, and they insist he's not the guy next year. So why are you so cool with me finishing this last game? And you already activated Bailey Zapp, and Dylan is not even questionable. Yeah, there might be a purpose for this game. I pray nothing comes against him. He just get to go out there. Hopefully Coach Prime and Carucci over there. I know Miss Pilar and Shalimar will be together. Hopefully, you know, Bucky will be filming again. Hopefully we see Shiloh, right? Hopefully the family's there, right? This is his last rookie game. So I sometimes feel like he'll be traded. I just don't know as what. So we'll see what this last game is about. I already scheduled the live stream for Sunday at 12:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for us to have the last watch party of Shedeur's rookie career. All right, so make that announcement. It said that's all the other team coaches. They've all said great things about Shedeur. Right, Valerie? So it's amazing that, you know, they couldn't do it. I'm like, so why is it that Stefanski can't? So really, they don't want Mike Tomlin or any other coach speaking positively of Shedeur. Hell, they don't even want Myles Garrett speaking positively about Shedeur. It said it's part of the game. It said coaches say nice things about the opposing teams during pressers before the game. They all follow the same script, right? So I don't see anything. You know, I don't know. I feel like they be trying to set Shedeur up. They trying to set Mike Tomlin up. That's just how it feels. It says Stefanski can't coach. He has provided something else to be an asset to the company for all of these years. I agree, Julie, because it's not his coaching skills. It said, yes, we heard Prime say in the media training, always lift the opponent up. Facts. And yeah, Coach Prime does that as well, too. He sure does. He sure does. Lift the opponent up. I I thought you meant like, you know how Coach Prime say love him to life, that kind of thing. But I got you. It said Mike Tomlin was trying to save his job. It says, can't compare Mendoza and Shedeur. Mendoza played against top schools in the Big Ten. Should have both went to South Carolina. No, box game. They should have not. Actually, I'm actually happy that Shedeur went to Jackson State first, because as you can see, Colorado was the setup. Colorado was the takedown for Shedeur, like it was at Alabama for Milroe. And Milroe went to an SEC game. Don't matter that they didn't win. He still went. And they still try to take him down with somebody that their QBR was neck and neck. Yep, same thing. So in other words, it's not new. It's new to us because we're just not paying attention. It's a new tactic. They normally do something else. It's not new to devalue black quarterbacks. So they're just trying something new. Now we want to turn them to check down kings. Hit the like button. Yes, get the likes up for me, please, if you don't mind. I always learn a lot from you. I enjoy your content. Oh, thank you. Thank you, 50s. 50s is fabulous. 75. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It seems to me that Stefanski doesn't know how to talk. I mean, really does not know how to articulate himself or have a conversation. That's a valid point. That's a valid point. That's a valid point. He's done a lot of press conferences and the other coaches just walk circles around him. Hey, Robin, how you doing? Love Black Eyed Peas. Okay, I'm going to run a poll. I'm going to ask. Ramon said he likes Black Eyed Peas too. Some people like to use other people's talking points rather than doing the research. Oh, that's true. They need to be stopped. I agree. Ray Rhodes was a head coach for the Eagles and the Packers. Yeah. Yep. We confirmed that New York, they've never had those things. They've never had that. 200 of us. Take a minute. Please hit the like button. I'm trying to get to 7,000. Hype me up. When you see the hype that YouTube have out there, hit the hype button. I don't know, it does something. Hype me up. Thank you. All right, I guess I'm going to start to wrap this up. And I don't know what kind of plans y'all have for the evening, but whatever you decide to do, make sure you have fun and always be safe. Somebody said, got to put the Black Eyed Peas with the right protein. Black Eyed Peas and oxtails. Oh, I've never had Black Eyed Peas and oxtails. Oh, okay. You know what? Have y'all ever considered like making a dish like noodles and throwing some Black Eyed Peas in it? Would you ever do something like that? Is that no? Because Black Eyed Peas, it depends on how you cook them, the consistency. Sometimes people have them soft. Sometimes it's the whole bean. Any thoughts about that? Would y'all ever do like a steak bowl with Black Eyed Peas instead of black beans or something like that? Just ask it. Instead of pinto beans, that kind of thing. I this time of year, I like a lot of soupy stuff. I like a lot of noodles and gumbo, anything that's soupy like that with broth. I kind of like that. So I'm wondering if Black Eyed Peas will be good, depending on how you cook them. Like, maybe it's just best to eat okra. Maybe it just stick to the okra. Maybe just stick to okra, because the Black Eyed Peas might not be the right consistency for noodles or something like that. It might get soft and it might get mushy. Okay, y'all, I'm going to get myself out of here. This was really good. Yes, Tom Brady did him dirty. There's no excuses. That Tom Brady comment he was supposed to have made does not even sound like Shedeur. Yeah, that's AI. If I had to guess, it's AI. I totally agree with that. All right, y'all. It said, yes, Nola girl, snakes. Yes, they are snakes. They are definitely snakes. That's what has come of this, right? We get to see who the snakes are. And I have said it to y'all multiple times. I said, the Manning name keeps coming up with these teams that did Shedeur dirty, right? And here we go with that video surfacing. And if you could celebrate Cam reaching out to Peyton Manning and feeling like that's the avenue for you to go, how is it that you know about this video, but you don't even put it out here because you don't want people to make the connection back to the Manning, to Peyton Manning, because they're going to be like me. How does this kid get pushed down in the draft like this by teams that only the Manning family have association with, all three at the same time simultaneously, and nobody does anything? That's how. And they want them to be royalty when in fact They are. You see what I'm saying? And that's the league's culture. That's the whole culture of it. And they don't want good people like Coach Prime and Shedeur and Shiloh. They are good people. And I told y'all before, I think they too good for this. I think they might be better off doing their own thing. I have said it before. That shield is tarnished. I'm just saying. I've said it before. I've said it multiple times. We're just now putting the evidence with it. One more game to go. All right, so I'm going to see y'all Sunday, 12:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Shedeur Sanders' final rookie game. Myles Garrett been doing a lot of talking, so we'll probably talk about that tomorrow. He been speaking out. He don't care. He like, fine, trade me if that's what you're going to do. But I got to say this, right? And he's supposed to still get his last sack on Joe Burrow so he could break the record because he has tied the record, I think, with Strahan or somebody like that. So he needs one more sack or half a sack to break the record on Burrow. So I don't know if they're going to let that happen. So, but we'll be back Sunday for the game, the watch party. But I'll be back tomorrow. I might try something new and drop some videos during the day that I pre-record. And because I have a lot of stuff to talk about and I can't get it all done when I'm live. So look for that if it happens. Make sure y'all show the video some love. Because that's how actually I got started. I started doing videos and then grew into live. So, you know, I think we're pretty good at the live space and then maybe go back to do the videos and talk about some other content and stuff. All right. So I'm going to see y'all later. Y'all have a good night. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 7,000 because we're on the way to 10,000. So we'll see y'all later. Have a good one. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports.